This is going south really quick.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Edwards. With me, as always, is Zeke Baker, and together we make the Dads Drinking Bourbon. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you for making us part of your day. Zeke, say hello to the folks.
Hello. Just a couple of spuds tatering along.
Aloha.
Well, yeah.
It is a very big day for us for a whole host of reasons. We have two incredible guests in the studio, but I do want to start things off before we even get to them. You're about to leave us for a little bit.
Well, you convinced the world my kid was already born.
Well, I didn't mean to convince the whole world that your kid... I just said, Zeke, if they read it, I said, Zeke is going to be having...
This goes back like to our conversations when you reply with some off-the-wall answer that I don't know what it means. And I said, did you read the text? No, what? What'd you say? Well, read the text.
Well, the text I said was Zeke is about to have, upcoming soon, he's about to have child number 2. So because of that, we started a Facebook group because Zeke and I might have to get together virtually for a little bit. So the PSA before we even get going, if you want to get in touch with us, if you want to interact with us while Zeke is changing diapers and cleaning bottles and all that other stuff he's doing for the next couple of months, reach out to us. We will add you to the Facebook group, Dads Drinking Bourbon, and then you might see us do some live stuff. We might get you on, whatever it is. We're going to be there.
But the kid is not here yet. 3 to 4 more weeks, folks.
3 to 4 more weeks. After this comes out, it'll probably be more 3 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, but we are joined by two incredible people. We have Denver from Denver and Lively. You've seen their glasses out there. You've heard about their glasses. You've seen him going on tour, posting pictures at Wild Turkey with his bandmates. And then we have the one and only Scotch Trooper in the studio. Brett, thank you very much for being here as well. But both of you, it's a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
That's all you got. You're like Zeke.
That's end of interview. That's good.
Yeah, all right. Good talk.
Thanks
Good
for
talk.
the whiskey.
It's like I tell Zeke to say hi, and he's like, hi.
No, I say aloha or some other catchy one-worder.
Holler.
Hi has never come out, John.
G'day.
G'day. That's my line then.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's kind of, I feel like Zeke and I have all the energy today. We also have our friend Brodie who's listening to this episode, but he hit up Elixir Spirits today, which is why he is kind of tired. But both of
he's
you...
currently on the dating apps, man.
I don't know. I'm dragging a fair amount of ass today with a smoke detector alarm that went off at 1:30 in the morning. I had to drive over here. It continued to go off about every 30 minutes till about 3:30 or 4. And I finally told him, like, don't call me anymore. Just put this thing on mute. Like, there's no fire. There's nobody in the house. There's nothing. Just quit bothering me.
Does it, when you get the alert, does it say the roof is on fire?
We don't need no water.
Man, John, it's too early for those jokes.
But
man, 4 people just turned this off.
Yeah. But Denver and Brett, you were up. I mean, you went to Michter's today.
Yeah.
You went to Heaven Hill. You went to Wild Turkey. Tell us a little bit about what you did today, because that was crazy.
Well, where did we start? We were at...
Well, we started in Nashville. That was the key.
Yeah.
And then had to drive. So we woke up like 5:30.
Yeah.
Drove all the way out to Kentucky. And
What do we... Michter's first.
That's just the normal routine when you have to go to a barrel pick or something. I mean, you got to be up and out of here early to get there.
Oh my gosh. It was
Plus
pretty
the time
early.
change, you lose an hour. So
Yeah, but we had
worse.
a few bevies at Urban Cowboy last night. It was Andy Nelson's fault, if you can hear us.
He's probably not listening to us.
Nah, he's listening to Tom Sawyer, I reckon.
You hit Michter's first. You got to have some stuff there. Tell everybody before we even get into your trip, because Denver, you've kind of been on this American tour, and if anybody's listening, no, you're not American. But
wait, you're not?
No, I'm American.
But you, But you flew over here to promote your new glass. You have a bourbon glass that's coming out now.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the glass, how you got started, the different types of glasses you have, and kind of give us your spiel.
My spiel. I am from a whiskey glass company. So we started with the whiskey glass, which originally was for mainly sort of Scotch whiskey, but we kind of tuned it so it was a little bit of kind of everything, but it was mainly tuned towards sort of barley-based whiskies. And then from there, so I guess that's the one that kind of really, that people kind of know about. Sort of a vase-looking thing, transparent, it's waterproof, it's got everything. And then we have the gin glass, which came out, which was with 6 different distilleries, and then this one, which was a few distilleries over this way that kind of helped us out with advice and that sort of gear. And then we end up with the bourbon glass. Unfortunately, no one can see it in this podcast, can they?
Well, we posted enough pictures. I know I took it on a vacation with me to Florida.
Yeah.
People have seen it. If you follow our Instagram at Dads Drinking Bourbon, if you look at our Facebook page, the glass is out there.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Toad from Mario Brothers.
Yeah, we have it's got an interesting sort of stem on it. The code name was like the
Thanks.
Chode.
I can't unsee that now.
So,
Damn it.
Sorry, it just hit me. I had to get it out the inner. We would never made it.
You have Toad here. But this one's a little bit different than the whiskey one that you had, where this one has a stem.
Yep.
Definitely popular for bourbon drinkers to have that stem opposed to not have the stem.
Yeah.
And it's a really well-made glass, has some really good weight to it, has a great shape to it. But, I was lucky enough to be at your tasting the other night at Belmead. There's a reason the shape is the way it is, right?
Yeah, it's we get all sort of like super geeky on this kind of shit. So it's it has a bunch of different things that it does sort of with airflow and temperature control. So we've got a stem there because we want to give you a step in between what's going on with your hand heat. So your hand heat can affect the way that you taste. So if you imagine if you had a hot Coke, it tastes like super sweet. And the thing is in bourbon is generally sweeter than Scotch whiskey. So then if you like go to bars and stuff around Kentucky and Tennessee, from what I saw, a lot of people would add ice, largely because there's hot weather outside. And then the other thing is that it also takes down the sweetness. So we decided we're going to add another step before you added ice, because I'm not used to adding ice with Scotch whiskey. So we did. It's got actually a slightly larger opening, which makes the profile actually slightly smoother. And you can add ice, but you can also isolate your hand heat from the liquid by just having a stem. So that's why the stem is there.
Well, also inversely, even especially a few times recently, I've had a drink, set it down, came back to it, for lack of better words, and the environment had been warmer than it was to begin with, and I actually feel like I get better flavor after the warmth, which cracks me up. And like John said, we honestly don't do much ice or even water a whole lot, but the times when I've had things iced down, I mean, I guess it probably mutes it more and makes it easier to throw back or down, but I feel like you miss so much flavor.
100%.
So I almost wonder if that's a bit of a misnomer that's out there, that the heat is a negative thing and will always so to speak negatively affect your tastings.
Yeah, 100%. Like sometimes you want to cool stuff down, but the main thing is dilution. That's what you want. So you don't want to dilute it too much, because you go well beyond the balance if you use that kind of shitty pub ice. Mm-hmm. But you can make the clearest ice you can get is what you should use. And then you put that in and it will dilute very slowly, but it'll also cool it down. And then you get a different sort of flavor profile. But stuff opens up, closes, different. There's so many different compounds in whiskey. So like my recommendation, generally speaking, and I don't like to give a recommendation, you drink whiskey, whichever the fuck way you want to drink whiskey. But I'd suggest to add water. Just add a few drops.
Not
put
Coke?
Your finger into a glass.
Not Coke?
Not Coke very often, but ginger ale, definitely. 100%. Where's that 90 blenders? We'll add a bit of ginger ale. That's beautiful.
I mean, but you're an engineer by trade, aren't you?
Well, I studied engineering, mechanical engineering and industrial design. So I do a little bit of everything. Kind of a madman.
Kind of like Zeke.
Yeah, I guess. He's a pharmacist.
So I did a lot of nothing and a little of everything.
Yeah, that's how it would be. Jack of all trades, master of none.
Zeke knows a lot about living and a little about love.
We're going to start singing.
I'm not even going there.
Hashtag dad jokes.
Man. We're gonna while I'm gone, John will be doing his own episodes full of these. All 2 of you that want to listen, subscribe now.
That part's edited. You've been out here. You've been in the States.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
2-3 weeks.
I think about 2.5 or something, 3 weeks maybe now.
So you started off in LA. This is like I'm wondering. I would buy one of the shirts, Denver and Wiley North America Tour 2018. But you started off in LA.
Yeah.
And then what were you doing out there? Then you came to Nashville. You've been here. Obviously, I mentioned I was at a tasting with you at Belle Meade. But what did you do in LA? What else are you doing here?
Yeah.
And
so I make pretty regular trips to the States. California is our biggest market. So I go there every time. I'm kind of half baked. Like, this is like a really complicated story, but I kind of half live in Mexico and half live in Melbourne, Australia. So whenever I go from Mexico back to Melbourne, I always go via California at least. And then usually every 1 in 2 of those trips, then I'll do the rest of this stuff. So this time around, I was coming back from Australia. You go into Los Angeles. So I did Los Angeles, went up to San Francisco for Scotch and Times event, and some other we've got a few retailers up there, including, I don't know, Kano Wines and D&M, and there's a whole bunch of other, Mason Corbeau. And then from there, where did I go? New York. I was in New York for a while and did an event with Edrington, and I can't think if I did anything else. So then I went to Northern Maine and did this whiskey discovery thing with Joseph Magnus. So I'm really hardcore into like the memories and stuff that you can associate with whiskey, not just the tasting notes. I think that gets a bit boring after a while if someone's just shouting down tasting notes. So I'm doing other sort of stuff. So we did some sort of photography and a little bit of hiking and a local produce match dinner and a whole bunch of different stuff up in Maine. Maine is fucking amazing. Like, if you can get up there, like, it's just everywhere you look, it's beautiful. And then from there, down to...
Well, you did a lot of biking too, I think.
Yeah, I did. I did fat biking. Do you know what fat biking is?
I have not heard of this.
Is that when I ride a bike?
No, it's this. It's like a motorcycle tire. It's like so wide, super wide. You can ride on stuff that you can't normally ride on easily. So like sand, you can ride up like random sort of stuff. I was mainly doing this like Campobello Island in. So Canada's right there, so you can just ride over this bridge and then onto this little island. So I just went there to go and see the whales, and the whales went there. Yeah, and then I just rode back again. So and took some photos over there for a product that will come out next year. And then back to the island. And then from Maine to where the hell did I go? Nashville. Yeah, here.
Where did I wake up this morning? Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, I get around, dude. Before that was like Australia. I was in like the UK, in France, the Czech Republic.
How do we trade? Do you want to do my day job and I'll do yours for a little bit?
If you want, man, I'm so tired.
You could take a step back and get into some project management, IT stuff. It'd be great. You'd love it.
I love Nashville.
It's so exciting.
Yeah. It really is.
Yeah.
I'm falling asleep just talking about it. Yeah.
How good are you with SQL?
With SQL? What SQL? No idea what you're talking about.
God.
Talking about a movie?
Yeah.
It's like the second one, yeah?
That's where it all goes downhill, is the second one.
So from here, you're spending some more time in Nashville.
Yeah.
You're going to hit up some of the local distilleries. I know you're going to go to H. Clark tomorrow. You're going to go to Corsair. I think you're going to hit up some of the local stores.
Elixir, I think you said.
Elixir, Carruthers.
Carruthers, that's it, yeah.
You already hit up Woodland.
Yeah. Those boys are awesome.
I mean, I guess what I would ask you is you're seeing you talk about the experiences, you talk about going all these different places. What have been some of the coolest experiences that you've got to have through whiskey?
Fuck, that's a massive question, man. It's like asking, what's your favorite song? Like,
give me your top 5 favorite bands, right?
Hootie and the Blowfish.
Rush.
Was that Thrush? Yeah, Thrush.
Hey, who's on a reunion tour? You should look them up while you're.
I have no
you're over
idea
here.
who this is. Like we were talking about this last night. Rush, is that such a famous band?
It's like
I don't know
the
what
most
Rush.
famous prog rock band that ever existed.
Yeah.
But okay, so what would you use as a definite way of like measuring popularity? I thought it would be followers on Spotify. So then
This is false.
This is
Is it not? What else can I use? I used like Justin Bieber, Shania Twain, Bryan Adams, Celine Dion, and then we had Rush. And Rush was at the bottom.
just because Rush is at the bottom, they are at the top of their respective genre, right? So
Okay, fair call.
there's a difference between pop music,
Yeah.
as you would say,
Yeah.
and then there could be an indie rock band that
Yeah.
is the best indie rock band that everybody knows that likes indie rock.
Yeah.
If you say prog rock, there are 2 bands that are come out, probably going to be Rush and Yes, are going to be the 2 biggest that people will bring up.
I would throw Floyd in there.
Yeah.
I don't know what prog rock is.
Progressive rock.
Yeah, I don't
Like
have Spotify.
like
I don't have
20,
Spotify
like
either.
20,
so I'm kind of
20-minute long songs and concept albums and
I have no
Interesting.
idea.
There's whole lore about Tom Sawyer and
Tom Collins.
well,
Peter Sawyer.
so Brett was
Andy
really
Nelson
trying
will
to
get
set
that.
you up with that because Tom Sawyer is one of Rush's biggest songs.
Yeah.
But I mean, have you
and
ever
I
seen?
and I swore that he knew it because who doesn't know that song? But we played it last night after.
It's like,
yeah,
who is this
and
girl
he's like-
singing? I was just like,
Have you ever seen the movie I Love You, Man?
That's one of the best movies ever.
Who's in that?
It's so amazing.
Paul Rudd,
great
Jason
start.
Segel.
No, I love you, man.
The whole movie is like about Rush.
Yeah.
Does like Celine Dion have a whole movie about her?
Titanic?
It's a soundtrack. Doesn't really count.
Fun fact about that song.
Yeah.
And this is definitely anybody who's listening. I'm sorry, this is not your typical whiskey podcast. But
Yeah.
And no, we're not karaokeing it.
the thing about
Why not?
My Heart Will Go On is she didn't want to sing that song, and that was actually her first take because she didn't want to
Sing
do
it
it.
again.
It was kind of a throwaway. And
That was a
then
pretty good first
Where do
take.
you learn
I was
these
gonna say it sounded half-ass.
Yeah.
your bathroom reading material, John. It's really out there.
Well, I mean, I have to stay up on pop culture so I can throw in good dad jokes.
I don't know if
Is
that
that
relates.
true?
Yeah, I don't say that's relatable.
Yeah.
It was very
4
relatable.
more people going.
It was very relatable when I actually had to do legitimate radio and know facts like that as you're going into songs and out of songs and things like that.
Yeah. So
Okay, you got me there.
what do you call it?
Fair
An
enough.
alternative fact, maybe.
No, it's not. No, we don't get that controversial on this show.
Going down the rabbit hole here.
Yeah.
Close your eyes. First thing that pops into your head. Best experience you ever had in whiskey. And it might not be the best, but just the one that you think of first.
I have to go PG, I think. So I can't. I can't go there. Let's talk about actually our first interaction, Brett's and I's. I thought that
Yes.
was a fun event.
That was pretty epic.
And
Yeah.
that's a great segue because you guys have been friends for
A long
good-
time, yes, maybe 3 years. So
Yeah.
it was like within a year of us even starting the company. So it was early days, very early days.
Yeah. How did we do we even meet on? Did someone introduce us through Instagram or something
I've got a
like
funny
that? Or
feeling
did
it
we-
might have been Gemma in Decatur.
Decatur, Georgia.
Yeah.
At Kimball House.
Yeah.
It was a Belvini tasting.
Yeah, and your first ever tasting.
My first ever tasting.
He was nervous, I remember.
Oh hell yeah!
Were you leading it or were you just there?
I was leading it, organizing it. Got together with Denver on the glassware. Got with Jonathan Wingo from Belvini on the whiskeys themselves. It was a lot of things to do for your first ever tasting.
I mean, not to jump around, we're already a little ADD already, but I mean, Nashville is kind of where you first fell in love with whiskey, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. A Rush concert. Bring it back to the Prague here in Nashville. Yeah. I had my first taste here about 4.5 years ago. And then opened the Scotch Trooper accounts the next weekend.
It's amazing how quickly you could go from being a novice to an expert, right?
I do not call myself an expert at all. But I definitely have learned a lot along the way.
What I will tell you is one of the things, Zeke and I are firm believers that we're not experts, but there was somebody in the industry who pulled us aside and said, you guys got to stop saying that because you probably tasted more whiskey than I have. And eventually, you know what you know, and you know the tasting notes you have. So you can't say you're a novice anymore. We're still learning every day.
Always learning.
He was almost offended that we kept saying that we're whiskey novices. And
I wouldn't call myself a novice. But I definitely wouldn't consider myself one of the top experts. Like, I mean, that's just ridiculous.
No.
John's not getting his red belt until he recognizes pre-fire.
So, anyways, take us back. Describe you were in Decatur, Georgia, Zeke's home state.
Yeah,
you were doing a tasting.
Yeah, it's a hot, sweaty evening. Keep going. Yeah,
it was
muggy. We'll go with muggy.
Oh man,
muggy night in Georgia.
But no, so you guys did a tasting together. You got all the glassware. You did all that, but it's kind of sparked a friendship.
Yeah.
That Brett, as you have grown in what you were doing in whiskey in Denver, what you have done with the glass, both of those have kind of coincided with each other. You've got to do other cool stuff along the way, and we all know about Scotch Trooper and the amazing figurine that I am seeing. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know who's more famous, you or this Stormtrooper.
Oh, it's definitely the Stormtrooper.
Yeah.
And I planned it that way.
It's like one of those things where I'm afraid to ask to touch it.
Oh, no, please do.
No.
Please do. Please do touch my 6-inch toy.
So...
Best episode ever.
The best
for 1 minute. Not even a minute.
How did we go negative?
Yeah. This is the best and worst episode at the same time. I feel like people are going to say like it was enjoyable, but I don't know what anybody was talking about. Like, what was the point? So speaking of the point, you started this off by saying one of the most memorable things was you meeting Brett.
Yeah.
So let's bring it back.
Okay.
What makes it one of the most memorable experiences?
I think the for me anyway, Brett, is...
Please speak for me.
Yeah.
I
think for me, it's like a genuine passion for whiskey, for the industry, and for just bringing education, I think, and getting more people to know about whiskey and more people to drink whiskey. That's the thing for me. You remove the pretension, all the bullshit, all the wankery, and I think there's a little bit too much of it in the industry. A few people on their high horses. And so when I find someone that I think, for me anyway, gets it, then I generally sort of gravitate towards that. And I could see that Brett sort of had that at the start a long time ago. And we were like a super young company then, but I could kind of see that's the type of person that I wanted to be associated with. And so that's why I think that communication happened and then the actual sort of event happened.
Yeah, I mean, between you, Angela, I mean, those were the first two people that I really met in person, that I actually met online first, like through social media, whiskey through social media. And to be able to see not only the passion online first and then have that connected in person, it was the first real feeling of community within the whiskey community. And with everything that's kind of been going on lately, being able to see that kind of multiply, and to see the amount of people that we touch through our accounts and through our connections and through our passion, and to be able to see those people stand up and kind of jump on board with that as well. I mean, it's kind of been really, even though it's been crappy as to how things have kind of transpired, to see everyone kind of combine and join efforts in order to show support has been amazing. And it all really started from there.
Yeah.
I mean, Decatur, Georgia.
Right. Kimball House. Heaps of Balvenie.
It's amazing. I mean, I think the thing that Zeke and I always talk about, and it's a recurring theme on our podcast, is we always say this is never going to replace the day job. But these experiences, sitting down with you guys for the night, sitting with Bernie Lubbers the other day, you know, having people like Sean Josephs from Pinhook, Sid from Filibuster, talking to Al Young, you know, and I don't say this, it's not bragging. That is the whole thing in whiskey that is the payoff. The payoff is the community. The payoff is the friends you get. The payoff is the experience you have throughout the whole thing.
Well, it's laughable too, because especially in today's society, so many interactions and relationships are more, virtual, online, less face-to-face, person-to-person type things. And so many of those, I guess, concepts are fine. But then so many times you get to the bourbon, whiskey, whatever world, it's like, oh, one of your online friends is in town or something, huh? Like, how is that different from anything else? Like, I mean, but it still gets that connotation of like, oh, you know this person? It's like, I feel pretty comfortable about the situation. We interacted pretty good. How many people in the world, bumble, for lack of a better thing? And you're going to give me a hard time about going to drink with somebody. There's worse things people are doing that don't know each other.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, it does get weird from time to time. Like, if you're like, I was in London and posting that I was there, and you get random messages from followers that are like, hey, I'm over here. Like, let's meet up for a dram. Like, I've never spoken to you before.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm behind you. I can
yeah, right.
15 meters away. You're in the shower. Oh, yeah.
I've never gotten that one yet.
You should probably stop posting from the shower then.
Zeke, I get him. If you check Instagram more, you would actually see him too.
Look, there's only so many things I can follow and keep up with, John.
I want to make sure that we talk enough about your trip and what you've been doing. I mean, what are you doing moving forward? What else should we expect to see from Denver and Liley?
Well, man, we do lots of stuff. So, I guess we're trying to apply like sort of brand values to lots of different things. It's not just whiskey glasses that we kind of that we're interested in, and so we'll do products that we see there is a difference that we can kind of make. I sound like Michael Jackson or something, but we do want to make some sort of difference. So if we take, I don't know, we just did a hat that you just got earlier today, that New Era hat, and then we also did a sort of soft release of a motorcycle about 3 weeks ago.
Wait, you guys are making a motorcycle?
Yeah, it's a cafe racer sort of. We just Liley really. He rebuilt a BMW K100, so a reasonably powerful thing, and reduce the weight, and just it's a pretty nice build. And we just took the values of the company and put that into a bike, and then maybe we'll do another one and go from there. And then there's some interesting stuff to come in 2019, I think. Which are in development now. There's one project that we've been working on for about a year and a half. And another project which has been going, and that's, I guess the big hint there is it's not glass. So it should be.
I hope the motorcycle's not glass, or it's not going to lay down very well.
Something else. Ooh.
Is it a person, place, or thing?
Quit yelling at the Scotch Trooper, Jesus! You got 8 levels higher.
It's a thing, but it's a person, place, or thing. Next year there'll be some other stuff that will be not a thing.
So lifestyle branding in short, or a different.
I think you could probably categorize us as a lifestyle brand.
Okay.
Going forward, yeah, it's kind of a little bit about everything, but it's a kind of about like buying less stuff. And buying once, I think, is an important thing for us. And yeah, I don't know. That's all I can really.
What percent of it involves a mustache? And with that, should I leave this and be the first
Hell yeah.
Nashville ambassador?
Yeah. Bring back the Mo. I think that should be a live vote.
I take Venmo, Square.
Yeah. 100%.
You let me know.
That Mo's got to stay. I don't know.
We're creating a Scotch Trooper Denver and Liley line of collectible figurines.
Ooh.
You've heard it here first.
Of course, that's the thing that I got right when I was doing the Instagram live, so everybody's gonna hear that.
Perfect. We lost 22 right there. They got the nut of the content.
So we do have to make this about whiskey a little bit.
Okay.
Well, we've been drinking whiskey the whole time, so.
And let's talk about the whiskey we've been drinking. Our friend Scott in Minnesota, that's Scott_in_MN. He sent us and thank you so much. I can't tell you enough, the people that listen to us, how great you are and how great the community is and interacting with all of you. He sent us a 1990 Blanton's, and Brett, you're looking at this. What was the dump date on that one? It is 6/25/90. So this is not something you have every day. I mean, it's something that is.
No, it's amazing.
What do you guys think about this one? We might as well talk about whiskey on this show. We will do another show where we talk more about whiskey, but.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
This is my first Blanton's.
Really?
Yes. So I'm starting off strong.
If there is a way to go into Blanton's,
they don't taste like this anymore.
A confession: I'm not drinking Blanton's. I'm drinking the Woodland Wine Barrel Pick OESV 10-year-old. It's pretty good.
Now, for the people in the Nashville area, what I will say though is you can get Denver and Liley glasses at Woodland Wine and Spirits right now. That is the one place in town that you are selling at. Is there any other place in town that has them?
Not yet.
But you're working on it.
Yeah, well, very soon there might be a place.
I will tee up a couple things I thought of as this went. Glass-wise, I know you mentioned a gin glass, other things as well. In that space or different spirits, what do you really look for, and what are the main factors that go into the whole design and thought process as far as, exemplifying what's in the vessel?
We look at a whole bunch of different things. So we look at smell and taste profile that master distillers kind of want. So we'll speak to them. Excuse me. So we have a master distiller can control what goes into a bottle, but they can't control what goes into your mouth, and they would ideally want to control that. So what we do, we try and work out what they want you to smell and taste, and then tune a glass that way. So how we come in the first place, we apply, we look at sort of airflow, temperature control, whereabouts we think that the profile that they're trying to get and what they want from that particular glass. So the whiskey glass, you can get certain notes and work out aging, and you have temperature control, you have a split of notes across the top surface, so you can go from the bottom, has all the alcohol, go to the top, you can smell behind the alcohol, and then the airflow. So we're reversing the way that normally air flows inside a glass. Instead of circularly, you have a lot of air that comes in and comes out, and it can't circle around so much. When it came to bourbon, we looked at a whole different sort of flavor profile. We worked out that you have certain sort of rules in place, so 51% corn minimum, a new American oak charred barrel. That imparts certain flavors, and there are certain commonalities between all the distilleries when it comes to that, because you have to adhere to that. So then we look at the things that make the distilleries different, and then speak to, head distillers or people involved in the distillery to work out what they're trying to taste. And then we also, another thing that we did was kind of like talk to people in just sort of random bars in Louisville and generally in Kentucky and Tennessee. And you can see that they were more focused on the sweetness, the oak, the proof, and those are the three main things. And then outside of that, at a lesser sort of criteria was spice and other sort of littler notes. But those are the three main things So then we saw that there was definitely a want for a technical bourbon glass focused on bourbon. With it has a smoother profile. It's really great with high proof bourbons, and also we look at palate delivery and bits and bobs like that. So I don't even know what the original question was actually.
It's kind of a recurring theme for them.
It was merely as you look at different spirits and try to craft a vessel that caters to each one.
Yeah.
What nuances are there? Like gin versus Scotch versus bourbon, and what your main goal is as far as exemplifying amongst the profile of the various spirits.
Yeah. So like gin was an interesting sort of brief because there's so many botanicals that are used in the distillation of gin. So we want to really bring that out, and that's why it has so much volume above the spirit surface in that particular glass. But then the main use of gin across the world is actually cocktails. So we had to create a glass that was going to work with gin cocktails and also enhance those sort of cocktails. So that's what that glass does. It's also got a larger opening for ice and garnish. You have to just look at how people are using it, and then we tailor to that. So yeah, that was kind of what we looked at with the gin. I think I covered the bourbon and kind of covered the whiskey.
Yeah, no. I mean, I honestly, it's not a loaded question by any means. I don't know. This summer's been rather hot, and there's been plenty of days when I just literally could not handle bourbon. So I've turned to gin some this year in an older age.
Gin is so good.
It was not loaded. It was simply a learning question for myself, and hopefully other people out there, the three that are left hanging on.
Yeah.
I mean, to talk about spirits, right? The Castle and Key gin has just, I think for Zeke and I both, and I am not a gin drinker at all, but that gin has just been absolutely phenomenal.
Same here. And the filibuster, I like it. It's gin finished in French oak and American oak barrels. Mm-hmm. So it's like 90 proof, very subtle gin, no pine sol, and enough of a bourbon-ish kind of
barrel aged gin
coat to it.
Yeah.
Somebody else is coming out with one. I saw it today, actually. Treaty Oak's coming out with one. Okay. So I wonder if that'll become somewhat of a thing. Is you see people that are predominantly, well, this is what I like, or this is what I like, but if I'm going to branch out and try something, you don't do a full 180. You get middle of the road. Was technically a gin, but it was finished in this, which is going to be much more your profile versus these stronger, possibly nuances of flavors to people.
A lot of new distilleries are doing that just for money generation as well. Because they don't have to age it very long.
Anything clear is just going to turn so much faster.
Yeah, exactly. They just need a few months sort of in a particular sort of barrel, and then they can put out a product. And then they just age their whiskey for like 3 years or whatever, and then put that out. But I think a lot of them should. I wish there was there probably is like a really gin-focused distillery in the United States. I feel like a lot of them have got whiskey up their sleeves. And that is just like a stopgap, but it's a beautiful product on itself, and it does super well in the UK and in Australia, and I don't see why it wouldn't do amazingly well here, especially with the quality of barrels that are around. Barrel-aged gins. Whew.
No, that's like
exactly.
When we had the guy here a few weeks ago, I mean, I had it, in a glass, neat, mixed with nothing, no ice. I was like, dude, I'm on my third one. He's like, how much is left in that bottle? I'm like, I don't know, but it might not be left by the time this is over with. Like, and I'm by no means a gin fan, so it's fun to me.
You didn't have the Blantons, though.
I did have it before this Four Roses.
And you are you're a big Blanton fan. What do you think of that Blantons?
I'm gonna have to come back. Let me just circle around. I'm just gonna skull this Four Roses. Such a waste. It's so good.
He will not drink out of anything else other than a Denver and Riley glass. So it's taking him a lot longer. Really? Like I thought about doing a tasting for another episode, but it's going to take him 3 hours to drink everything because he's like, hold on, mate. I gotta clean out this glass.
We definitely should have brought some more glassware.
Maybe we should get some paper bags and just close off every bottle. That circumvents the need for a glass. We just all take pull straight off the bottle.
There you go. Yeah.
It's all high proof.
Brown paper bag it.
So I don't know where he's going. Does he have more glasses? Maybe.
Probably.
Or the bathroom.
Yep. He's going to get one of my very favorite things that I wish
I had purchased one of those as well.
It is wrapped in this amazing leather wrap. It is the Adventurer series.
It is
Explorer
series.
kangaroo leather. Yeah, it's reasonably sustainable in Australia. So, and it really performs really well. So no one can see this.
That's what she said.
It's more or less lambskin for a glass.
Yeah, something like that. So you can kind of drop the glass in that wrap.
All right, so to the Blantons at least, we don't have a current bottling here to really do a side-by-side or compare or blind especially. But to our recent saga argument of pre-fire and whether or not it's a difference, there's something different about this. Obviously, I would think Blanton's hasn't had a fire or a tornado or anything else that caused them to lose their yeast, other factors that people point to with the pre-fire. So I'll toss you a bit of a bone and say I could easily see how this could also be more of a difference in product due to the difference of wood in the barrel. Obviously, everyone distills, etc., their own juice. As Denver mentioned earlier, there's so many chemical components into each one. Who knows how to really, extract or be very finite there. But you're going to have different chemical reactions across the course of time, etc., plus temps. I could easily see how, two different sets of White Dog, one Heaven Hill, one Blanton's, going into similar barrels of, composition, texture, etc., could both yield that much variance in a flavor compared to either one of them's current market offerings.
So what are you getting at, Zeke, though? What exactly are you trying to say?
It literally could be the wood, and that's why the older whiskey tastes so much better.
But are they? Do you not think that they were using the same supplier?
Well, if you look, especially in the States, I mean, I don't know about Australia, but we mow through so much more wood, so much more of it's now not natural. Regrown, planted, regrown. It's not, hey, Farmer John suddenly selling off this land he's had in his family 100 years, and Lord knows how many rings are in this tree.
Yeah.
We bought the dirt, we cultivated the dirt, we put the seeds in 10, 20, how many ever years. There was a timeline for when that tree was done.
Yeah.
And it was never a measure of, oh, we found this, hey, it's prime, it's ready, etc. It's, nope, it's time to cut the damn thing. It's got enough length on or width to have a yield.
Yeah, right. So you feel like there was a reduction in the wood quality after the fire?
I think just in general, you can point to so many different things, but as far as where we are and what's definitely changed the most, I think it has to really be 51%, for lack of a better number, on the wood.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with the wood argument. I disagree with the fact that something changed pre-fire, post-fire. Now, if you're using pre-fire, post-fire as just a measurement of time, like BC and AD, then sure, there might be something that to the wood argument or the way. I mean,
it could just be pure coincidence. I saw something 2 days ago that said Turkey, and it said either 96 or 98, before and after. Slope started changing.
I mean, if you even think about houses, right? The way that they built houses 30 years ago, the rating for a fire is like 3 minutes, and now it's like 30 seconds. In a lot of these houses, the time that you have to get out of the house with older houses is longer than the time you have now. And the reason I bring that up is if you go back to your wood argument, there was a great thing that somebody posted, and I think, Zeke, you might have posted it. They showed the actual rings in the wood during Prohibition times and the number of rings you have a piece of wood now. And wood isn't growing the way that it used to.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But how can it be so significantly different between post and pre-fire?
No, I think that literally is just a pure coincidence.
So you agree with me that it's not the fire that actually changed?
I'm just saying
it all happened at the same time, and that's just like the line in the sand.
See, I take offense to the people that say like the fire caused.
Right.
Let's just say there's two eras
taste
of
to change
product.
If you want to tell me that it's an era, that I'm on board for that.
Mm-hmm.
But
the fire was the marker, though. That's what you're trying to say, Zeke. I think.
I think it's a coincidence, but it just worked out that way.
No, I could agree with that. I think Is there anything, turning to our resident Scotch expert, is there anything that changed? I mean, because if you think about what Scotch is doing now, there's a lot more experimentation that's going on. A lot of times older Scotch was, it's either going to be a Highland, a Lowland, a Speyside, an Islay. You're going to get more of a peaty taste. Like, what you're going to get. Like, what you're going to get between a whiskey and a rye and a wheated whiskey and a high rye whiskey. Or, is there anything like that in Scotch?
Like a fire?
Not a fire, but like, is there a time period that people kind of look at and say that's the golden age? Or
I think it really depends upon the brand and the expression itself. I mean, they're constantly evolving, constantly changing their. I wouldn't say their methods, but there's definitely kind of that mystique to the older whiskeys that are no longer accessible. And in that, I mean, the new whiskeys that are coming out now, yes, they're changing some methods. They're trying to bolster. There's definitely a influx in stock.
I'm just I'll jump in here.
Please.
On particular sort of Scotch whiskey brands, I think there are sort of periods in time that people kind of really respect. And they think that there was some sort of golden era, like, for example, 60s Macallans, or there's a whole bunch of different ones for different eras. And I think in Scotch whiskey, it's celebrated that change, this sort of evolution. I don't feel like you're celebrating Zeke, but like, surely over time everything changes, yeah. And maybe they did change supplier of the wood. I don't know, after the fire, maybe that's what it was. But where do you think they are now, for example?
I mean, I think it's simpler to where everything's just very trying to grow something as fast as you can, supply as much as you can, turn a profit. I mean, it's just like you can drive to the south now. Plenty of areas that would have been a very diverse wooded grounds. It's all pine. Newspaper. That's money. That's where it goes. There's nothing that's just growing on its own, essentially, and you stumble into it. Back to John's thing, I would wonder, because honestly, I don't dabble in Scotch whatsoever, but do they seem to have a marketability type pressure to have the new and new, like constantly reinvent the wheel? I mean, we get that here all the time. Like, we have finishes, mixes, blends. Every 3 months, somebody's got something. Is Scotch succumb to that, or do they stand up as the old?
I think there's a mixture of both.
Old curmudgeon of. This is what we put out.
There's
we
love,
made it this far.
Yeah, there's the love of the whiskeys that you've grown to love, but at the same time, you want to see those brands evolving and trying new things. Yeah, you see that with Glenfiddich right now with the experimental series, but they still hold true to their benchmark whiskeys that people have grown to love. So they're doing both at the same time.
Well, and there's actually some resistance, and you brought up a question I was going to ask, because there's some resistance to finishing Scotch out there, isn't there? They're in the way that they're trying to age it. It doesn't necessarily, almost kind of like the way that
there's resistance to anything out there.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, but I mean, I love finishing. I mean, it brings out some amazing characters to whiskeys that you're never gonna, be able to access. So I mean, I think what Glenfiddich's doing, what Glenmorangi's doing. I mean, there's a lot of amazing whiskeys that are coming out.
And Compass Box, especially. Compass Box are freaking killing it.
Then you're talking about blending and then finishing. And then,
exactly. That's next level shit.
Yeah.
The company that owns Compass Box, aren't they coming out with a bourbon now? It's going to start in Texas.
William Grant & Sons.
I was reading this article. It's starting off in Texas, but it is going to be a blend of like 5 or 6 bourbon whiskeys that they're putting together. And what's the name of it?
Fistful of Bourbon.
Yeah.
Fistful of Bourbon. Now, and the only problem with that, I would say, is that it's almost a little similar to Blood Oath. That, in the mingling of multiple whiskeys together,
It's also
What? Who am I pissing off?
I'm just like, how is that similar though?
Because they took a blend of like four different. Yeah, but that's all it is, right?
That's a blended whiskey. That's a whole.
But everyone's blending.
Everyone's blending.
I would see it more akin to Monkey Shoulder, where Monkey Shoulder is the blend of their three main whiskeys. So Balvenie, Glenfiddich, and Kinnaby.
And Isla Bay, yeah.
Yes, but what are the blends in that?
No, Isla Bay is like the one making and blending, I think, all of that.
Okay.
Isla Bay is not one that's spoken about. But that's like a secret force in a secret force.
But no, blending across the board. I mean, it's coming on. I mean, you can see it. But look at the next little book. It's 2 Canadian whiskeys and a whiskey. Bourbon's not even mentioned.
Yeah.
Does it matter? Like as long as it tastes and smells.
Oh
good,
no, I don't care.
I don't think it matters. Like even
No, but I'm asking questions just to get you to actually. I mean, we're having a good conversation now. And that's why I'm saying things the way I am.
I'm just trying to piss you off so you talk.
Clearly, we've got into. Everyone's had 2 pours or more, and we're much more on a sustainable level here.
Yeah. We're getting
the day is getting normalized at 11:30 at night.
So really,
we still only have 5 minutes of show recorded.
So really, what I'm going to do, we're an hour in. I am probably going to cut up the first 45 minutes very heavily, and this is actually getting into the stuff that is going on. I mean. I think Blood Oath was, if you want to talk about blending, every small batch is a blend, right?
Right.
So let's just throw that out there before Denver thinks I'm an idiot. I mean, every small batch is a blend.
Too late.
Blending always happens in whiskey, or in bourbon too. But I mean, these are brands that are now coming out when you think about the Blood Oath and the Little Book and Fistful of Bourbon, and they're really saying that we are mingling. I mean, it happens more in rye, where you have Whistle Pig comes to mind, right? And if you think about their Old World or the Boss Hog, those are blends of whiskey that get put together.
Yeah,
but you have much more. You're talking about them between the white lines versus the yellow lines. You got barrels of similar stock in your blending. Your overall profile is not going to vary that much. Whereas you start throwing everything in the kitchen sink in there, but at the same time you have to be mindful of, is this going to be shit, or is somebody actually going to drink it and pay money for it and tell their friends they liked it? I mean, that's a completely different profile or realm.
I think the one thing we haven't talked about yet that is the most important thing with what they are doing with Fistful of Bourbon, though, is that retail price on that's going to be $25.99. So if you think about some of the other things that are coming out, like I think it's almost akin, Brett, to what you were saying with Monkey Shoulder. Mm-hmm. And it's about the same price, same brand. You look at Little Book, and Zeke mentioned Little Book, that's 80 MSRP. You look at the stuff that Whistle Pig is doing, and their blends are going to be $100 or more for that Old World, the 15, things like that. Blood Oath, $100. So this is now something that is a blend. Now, granted, it is going to be younger. It's going to be 2-year-old whiskeys that are put together, or 2-year-old bourbons that are going to be put together. But that is something that is a game changer, I think, to have an accessible bourbon like that. I just don't know why they're testing in Texas.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me.
And they said,
I'm sure there's a rhyme or reason to it, but I haven't read enough on it.
And I mean, if you think about all the stuff, all we have to do is say, think of all the Weller that is on the shelf in Texas, and people from other places go to get Weller and Colonel Taylor, and people go to Texas to get allocated whiskeys that they can't get in their own place, and then pack their suitcases and fly home. Why would you go and have your test market be in Texas?
Maybe they're looking for good reviews. If you anything that was Texas distilled.
Maybe they know something we don't know.
We are joined by Brodie. Brodie.
Yay, me.
How was bumbling?
It's great. I actually had a coffee date at 8:30 in the morning.
8:30 in the...
Pool bag, I got some honey.
I'm not wearing a red t-shirt, and I'm also wearing pants.
at least I see this as more of a common theme back to the finishing lines. What is it with Sherry PX that makes everyone just get trifling hard on this? Because I mean, I don't drink much of it. I just see it consistently. Like, oh no, this is Sherry PX finished. Like, okay, well, why should I
normally don't go crazy over it until I had the Bunnahabhain.
Okay. Oh my god! Anything from Ireland that they use sherry finish.
But generally speaking, is it really like?
Have you tried it?
No, I don't drink Scotch.
Oh my god! No. Actually, I need you to try Joseph Magnus bourbon that's finished in cognac and sherry. I think they use a PX
We have some friends that have done a Magnus cognac pick.
Yeah.
With cognac finishes in bourbon, it's one of those things that's very good. It's very sweet, but I don't think it's one of those things that we always say, and I don't want to speak for Zeke, but one of the few things we agree on is if you pop that bottle, you have to finish it in a weekend.
The cognac, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the cognac we had, I popped it, and I mean, honestly, I was like, man, this is really good. Got into it.
Yeah.
Like 5 days later, I'm looking for something to drink. I'm in the garage. I like this. I was like, completely. I called John. I was just like, did somebody take a dump in the bottle? Like,
really, it died that quick.
This thing just seriously, I mean, day and night.
And same thing happened to me, but I mean, we've had some really good cognac finishes with, Belle Meade puts out a great cognac finish. We have more than one pick. Carruthers. There's a Carruthers and Lincoln Road split. There's a Lincoln Road pick. There's, the Joseph Magnus picks for the cognac finish. They're really, really good. I just know that I have a few that I'm sitting on that I'm afraid to open because I want to open them in a situation like I am with you guys where I know the bottle is going to get killed.
I mean, would you almost have to use like one of those wine air taker out?
Yeah, the little plunger things. Like, I don't know if that makes a difference or not. I mean, honestly, there's because the bottle I had, there was 80% left for sure. So it wasn't that much volume of air
in there
in relation to liquid, but it spun down just really quick. I mean,
but I don't think sherry finishes, getting back to PX or Oloroso, I don't think they go that quick at all. Like, I don't know how many bourbons that I know of that have been finished in sherry, but I think that time will come.
To me, back to that just at least from what I've seen in my very minimal toe wetting, it just always seems to have like that's the one that gets the big build up behind it. Does it really complement the profile and flavors that much? And even then, every brand's different.
It really depends upon the brand. It depends upon the region.
But everybody seems to do it. So is it just a mimic of they did it? Well, we got to do it.
It'd be fighting words, boy.
Hey, we're getting a little feisty around here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's fight.
I would say, generally speaking, definitely there are some profile bourbons that wouldn't work, but I think there would be some bourbons that are experimenting with that at the moment, and it wouldn't be suited, but they know that it's a fad, and they would just do it because for the sales.
Yeah.
And I think there are some whiskies that do that as well. Actually, I'm gonna.
Oh no, they definitely do that. That's why I was asking. Like,
yeah.
Is it really such a broad product, and I guess those barrels so accepting to where literally any Scotch can go into it and it just comes out?
Definitely not.
Glazed donut, tasty, sweet, better.
I've had some shitty whiskeys.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is my chance to ask because I'm not gonna waste the time or money buying the damn things.
What's the Macallan? It comes in the red box. It's like $300.
Is it rare cask?
Yeah.
That one was so. That does not have a Scotchy taste at all, and it's a blend. But that one was so good. That was one
Is that fully aged in bourbon and a bit of sherry?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think
and then the rare cask black is slightly peated, which is amazing.
It's tough because sometimes I really like Scotch. And I have a friend, my best man was from Scotland. For birthdays, I always give him a good bottle of bourbon. He gives me a good bottle of scotch, and then we trade and we kind of educate each other. And
Hug, and it's good.
there are some that I really love, and then there are some that really have that Band-Aid taste.
Yeah.
And for me, it's always
What does a Band-Aid taste like?
like scotch sometimes.
like iodine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Lafroig and.
So you guys have drunk or tasted Band-Aids?
I mean, I always just thought Scotch tasted like the devil.
Denver,
I don't know what you're doing with the devil, but
You don't want to know what he's doing with the devil.
My father drank Scotch. I purposely did not.
but Denver,
but a lot of people have had that first taste of whiskey that was like peaty or smoky, and like that's all they know.
Yeah.
And so when you talk to someone and you say like, I'm a big Scotch drinker, and like, oh, I can't stand it. Like, well, what was your experience?
and they don't realize the region is going to have a huge
Yeah.
effect on what the taste is. But I mean, Denver, and you said it yourself, so smell a Band-Aid,
Yeah.
right? Because none of us have eaten Band-Aids or licked Band-Aids, but the Brett's thinking.
I'm trying to, yeah, right.
But I mean, you said it yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of your taste comes from your nose and your smell.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. It just takes you kind of back to a hospital and Band-Aids and things like that.
very
And-
medicinal.
I think it's that orangey sort of stuff that they put onto wounds and then you put the Band-Aid on.
Iodine, like you mentioned.
Big iodine, yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably what's the key there. But like Brett was saying, like a lot of people's experiences with a Nyla whiskey of some sort, and then they just think that the rest of it is shit. It's the same with tequila as well. Tequila is like another big one, which
Man, there's so much good tequila no
there
one
is
knows
so
about.
much good tequila in the world, but somebody's had a bad experience and then they just won't touch it again for forever.
Which with whiskey, it's funny that we go back to this, right? The one brand that we always get, you think it would be something like Jim Beam or Early Times or Evan Williams. It's always somebody said, I had a really bad experience with Wild Turkey and I don't go back to that brand. And it's because a lot of the stuff that people are getting is they'll go get Wild Turkey 101 because it's a little bit higher of a proof than the Jack Daniels, the Jim Beams, and then they're in college and
It's what your parents were drinking, and they had it because it was actually probably good to them because they drank it appropriately. And then someone shows up with a fifth or four at a field party, and everybody's just bottoming it up, and then you're bottoming back out in a couple of hours.
To me, it was Goldschlager.
Oh, man, I love that
That
stuff.
stuff is good, actually.
It took me years to be able to even eat Big Red chewing gum again because
Goldschlager was so
I got
good,
so
baby.
sick off of that. It was horrible.
Why were our parents buying Goldschlager though? That's what I would.
My parents were
This was not my parents.
John, where are you going?
My dad was always Johnny Walker, right? So like
Yeah.
it wasn't like I was he's a Scotch drinker, but definitely the Johnny Walker that could go in your golf bag.
Yeah. My dad was like,
Depends on how size your golf bag is.
Well, I didn't find out until recently that I was a third generation Scotch drinker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but the first to have a single malt.
If you think about that, a lot of Scotch drinkers don't go past the blends.
Yeah.
They really stick to that. I know all these people that say all the time how much they just want a Johnny Walker Blue. That was the one thing they wanted, and everybody talks about Johnny Walker Blue, and it's almost, to me, it's kind of like what Pappy is on the bourbon side, that it's over, it's
do you remember what I said about Pappy the other night?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same with Johnny Walker Blue. The best one in the range, in my opinion, is Johnny Walker Green. It's the only vatted malt in the whole series. The other one uses grain whiskey. It's just this, like, it's the same with Pappy. Like, everybody, like, puts this thing on a pedestal. It's good whiskey, but it's not worth that.
And if you did it in a blind, you would probably pick
Weller 12, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like Weller 12. It's too oaky, but same thing. Brodie, how you doing?
I'm good. I mean, I can't relate to you guys about dads because I did have one, but
Well, you are here, so yeah.
he was a Schlitz malt liquor drinker, or Old Milwaukee was his beer choice. So I can't really say I I learned my liquor drinking from him.
It's just good cold beer. Yeah.
So this is all pretty interesting. I mean, Zeke, I think we're learning a hell of a lot more about Scotch than we've ever known before in our life. I'm really just impressed. I knew Highland, Lowland, Speyside, and Isla, but
Well, I figured you did your homework as normal, and I just walked in here dumb.
yeah, I had to know something before Brett came on. But speaking of Brett, we're not going to talk about all the stuff. I mean, if you guys want to know what's been going on with him, listen to the video you did with Scotch Test Dummies. You were just on Luscious Life. I think you were on some Canadian podcast too. I mean,
Whiskey Topic. Yeah.
Whiskey Topic.
Mark Pilak, yeah.
And it's not just some Canadian I just couldn't think of the name.
No. Fair enough. Yeah.
But there's plenty of places that people can hear what's been going on with you. But tell me a little bit about,
or just reach out. I'll tell them. Yeah, it's cool.
But tell us a little bit about what you are doing now. I think it's a return. We are seeing many more of the Stormtrooper coming back.
The troopers are coming back. They are reserved at this point.
The Trooper Reserve.
Yeah, the Trooper Reserve. There's still more news that we're trying to hold off on to see where things are going to kind of unfold. But in the meantime, I've created my Patreon, which has been taking the ownership. Not like there was any ever ownership. Like my voice was always my voice on my account, and I think that's what people kind of got confused on. But that voice is now being sponsored by not only myself, but by my Patreon supporters. And so they're the ones that are helping me move forward with what I'm doing.
So you're building an empire?
I am. And I had Padawans and Jedi.
He wrote that down last week in his notes.
But yeah, so I've been going forward with help from Patreon. On top of that, I'm looking at ways to expand what I've been doing and kind of trying to take what my voice was in the community, in the whiskey community, and being able to move that into the next realm. So there's many ideas that are kind of marinating right now and distilling and aging. So as things move forward, those are going to come out, and I'm really excited as to what is around the corner for Scotch Trooper.
And like I said, I don't want to regurgitate stuff that other people did, but people don't realize that. I think you were saying that some of your favorite shots take 5 minutes. Some of the other shots might take 5 days, to get right. And I know this. Zeke makes fun of me. He's dying to find me lying on the floor with my phone a certain way, trying to get a bottle shot. He always makes fun of me because I take the time to.
I found it once. I just couldn't find my phone. You were on the floor, butt crack out and everything, and I missed it. I mean,
that's just a regular Tuesday for me.
Yeah. I was like, where did my phone go?
But the funny thing is like there will be times at the house where I'm laying down the hallway and I have a backdrop up so that you don't see the stairs and all that. And my wife is just kind of laughing at me because I'm trying to get, and I'll bust out flashlights and other things to get lighting the right way. So, I mean, I think for all of the stuff that we enjoy with Scotch Trooper, it's not something that it's like a song, right? Some people write hit songs in a couple of minutes. So some pictures are going to be a couple of minutes. Some really take time. So as you're going through your supporters and building your Rebel Alliance, as you might call it, it is because it takes time. And it's
you can't rush through it.
No. Good things you can never rush.
Yeah, I mean, it has been my creative outlet.
You want the spirit of radio to guide you to...
He has to get credit for that. That was brilliant.
Well, I just made a Rush reference that you will never get.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
We're there.
Yeah.
Don't pay attention. It's okay.
What was that? Frog Rock or whatever it was?
It was,
Fraggle Rock?
Fraggle Rock. Oh my God.
You're doing the Patreon. You're moving forward. It is the Return of the Jedi. It is, the Empire Strike Back, but now it is the Return of the Jedi. It is a new hope for what we are doing in the future. I mean, I know I just went 564, but there's more to come. I would say it's more a new hope. What just happened to you was the first 3 movies that we don't talk about. Although I liked 3.
The Empire will strike back.
No, yeah. I liked 3. I didn't,
Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. That was the only redeeming quality of the prequels.
Now, are you thinking of building any, because the latest have some really cool characters in the Empire. Mm-hmm. Are you thinking about bringing any of them into play in the future? Like, I mean, not necessarily Kylo Ren and Rey and those folks, but
they've come and played with whiskey.
But
like Solo, the new Solo figures and all that. Yeah, I have those. They've been waiting to come out for. That's not really horrible. Solo and Lando really have been waiting to come out for a while.
Last but not least, before we stop talking about this, did Solo shoot first?
Han shot Solo. He was the only one to shoot originally.
Yeah.
So yes.
Denver's looking at me like, what the hell are you talking about? But all the Star Wars fans.
Solo was the same person. Han shot Solo? I'm totally lost.
So in the cantina, it is a long debated thing for people that are fan of Star Wars is, did Han shoot first in the cantina
or did Greedo? Because in the remakes, Lucas made it look like Greedo shot first so that Han didn't seem like he was a murdering bastard.
But Han was actually much worse originally written. He was much worse, and then Harrison Ford played him so well that Han became a likable guy. But he was, if you think about what Han was doing...
Who cares?
Whoa. Wow. Lost 22 people.
Damn.
But if you think about what Han was doing...
I listened to you talking about your glasses for a half an hour.
Yeah. And he didn't make any sense. Like, he didn't come to an argument.
Nah.
Yeah, the one thing John's not going to say at the end of this, if you didn't like it, don't review. Please PM us. No. We're done. No PMs, please. I don't want to read it.
You don't read them anyway.
I get the occasional one when I'm taking a dump at work and it pops up on my phone.
Do you know how many PMs I got today? Like, Zeke, congratulations on being a dad. And
yeah, because you told the world I had a kid and I didn't.
And I said, Zeke doesn't read these, but you should message.
So now we know if you respond that you're on the dumper.
It's strong like that.
Fair enough. All right, cool.
And
95%.
And following suit and anything else we do per se, pictures, etc. You should be able to get a good idea of who's responding.
And the other thing that people should know is somebody said it on Facebook in one of the boards recently. They're like, Zeke's pictures look like shit. John's pictures look good. That's how you know who's posting.
Whoa.
But another thing that Zeke won't deny
fired.
it.
Yeah.
I screenshot it and sent it to him. I laughed about it.
The other thing that I should mention, though, is, and I want to say this for Zeke, if you're on Facebook and you're in a bourbon group and you see somebody named Zeke, yes, it's the same guy as the guy I'm sitting next to. I don't know how many Zekes you all know, but there's a lot of people that will come out and say, hey, you're the same Zeke that's on Dads Drinking Bourbon in a bourbon group, and you're the only Zeke I know in bourbon.
I know. I'm constantly bewildered as well. Like, what did you not get about this? John says always Zeke Baker. How many Zekes are in the world, much less the same last name?
There is a website you can go to, howmanyofme.com, and there's one Zeke Baker in the United States.
No, there's only one in my full name, though.
Yeah.
Look at everyone picking up their phone. I know there's another one of me. He's a baseball player in like Kansas or something.
Is he at least in the bigs?
No, he was in college for a while.
There are John Edwardses out there that I don't want to be compared to. So we all know the guy who ran for president.
Yeah, John never gets the, oh, that's you?
There's only one me.
There's only one Brodie Whitlock.
Yes.
And shit.
And shit. Yeah, that's right. My tagline for this. And shit. Somebody will be happy to hear that.
Denver probably doesn't know this, but Brodie used to, every time he was on watching an Instagram live, he would say stuff and he would just say and shit at the end.
What was it? We were like discussing a movie or something like that. And I was like,
and shit.
Dinosaurs and shit.
So wrapping all of this up, there's a lot of good things coming with Scotch Trooper. There's a lot of good things coming with Denver and Liley. Visit them on Instagram at Denver and Liley, at Scotch_Trooper. Visit Brodie on Instagram at wit.brode.
Brodie.
I did that. I did that.
I see that.
I was putting extra
an I, not a
syllables. Brodie.
Oh, you said Brodie.
Yeah.
I, not D. 2 letters. So
Also, check out Brodie's podcast, The Empty Glass Resistance. Go ahead and find him at The Empty Glass Resistance as well. He's on all of your favorite podcast providers. Find us on Instagram at Dads Drinking Bourbon. Find us on Facebook at Dads Drinking Bourbon. Find us on Twitter at Bourbon Dads. You can also find us on your favorite podcast provider, Apple, Google Play, Stitcher, Podknife, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all the places. Please leave us a 5-star review. Tell us why you like us. Also, join our new Facebook group, Dads Drinking Bourbon. It's a place where Zeke and I will interact and do lives with each other, all that stuff, while he is home with a whiny newborn baby in about 3 or 4 weeks. Not right now. Zeke, where else can the folks find us?
most days in Nashville, Tennessee. Hopefully you survived this. I'm going to call this a T-shirt quilt of an episode. You know, it makes all the T-shirts random, like facets of your life over years, and then make it into a blanket. Yeah, that's what this turned into. But
I still think we struck gold.
Hey, if you have survived this and you're one of 2 people, maybe 1.5, I lost count. It's been the ups and the downs, but
there were more ups than downs, though, which is what matters in the end.
And we did at least talk about the Blantons and the wood and the differences, and it led to some tangents.
And
but
the plus side is we got to drink whiskey.
yeah,
that's true.
There's a second one of these coming, and it's just going to be a shit show, for lack of better words, of what we pass around the table. So if you survive this, reward yourself by listening to the second one, please.
Well, we had fun, and that's all that matters. But Denver, Brett, Brodie, anything you guys want to say before we close?
May the dram be with you.
I could think of anything. I've got a poem.
What's your poem?
Oh, God.
There was a redback on the toilet seat when I was there last night. I didn't see it in the dark, but boy, I felt its bite. I jumped right up into the air, and when I hit the ground, that crafty redback spider was nowhere to be found.
We have one in the States.
You have a redback spider.
I just know about a man in Nantucket, but that's a whole other story.
Best I ever got was a story about Molly Brown.
On that note, cheers, and we will talk to you all next week.